Welcome to It's Your Space. I'm Mary Cox, Seattle-based, New York-bred interior designer who firmly believes that subconsciously, design choices psychologically and physically influence how you feel in a space. This podcast will introduce you to the science behind how your environment impacts your well-being. I'm often asked what my process is for designing a space. It's easy. I listen. Because the truth is, you actually know what you want, and I know how to get you there. Welcome to part 2 of our interview with Don Ruggles. Don is a leading voice in the emerging field of neuro-architectology, blending beauty, science, and psychology to create healthier built environments. Don has led over 1,000 architectural projects, totaling more than $6 billion in construction. He is a TED Talk speaker, author of Beauty, Neuroscience, and Architecture, and also produced the film Built Beautiful, an architecture and neuroscience love story, narrated by Martha Stewart. Last week, Don spoke to us about our perception of beauty and how it's coded in our DNA, and how sound and music impact our environments and health. Today, Don walks us through the 9 square theory, an intuitive process grounded in how the brain works and the science behind it, and how spaces calm or stimulate our nervous system. He will explore how beauty can support well-being, creating effects similar to meditation. Once again, we are honored that Don Ruggles is joining us today. So Don, in your book, you refer to the 9 square theory in architecture. Can you explain this concept and talk about art history in relation to patterns and our perception of beauty?
So let's take the Mona Lisa, which is probably, one of the most famous paintings, if not the most famous in Western art history. So it has a facial diagram, obviously, the face. But what else does it have? It has background, middle ground, foreground. So 1, 2, 3. And then it has left, center, right. 1, 2, 3. So it's laid out in a 9 square. Well, if you look at paintings by Botticelli, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Rothko, Georgia O'Keeffe, Edward Hopper, it just goes on and on. It's left, center, right, top, center, bottom. And so when you see that centered, that bilateral symmetry, it doesn't have to be symmetrical. Left doesn't have to be equal to right. Top doesn't have to be equal to bottom. It can be offset. But when that pattern's there, your brain tends to relax. Now, the Mona Lisa has other patterns in it that humankind responds to. It has a big view. So it looks out across a valley with water. So there's a river running through it. So a big view is an important part of our DNA. When our ancestors came upon a big view, they knew that most likely they could tell, are there predators coming? Are there enemies there? Is there food? Is there water? Can I raise a family here? This is part of our DNA. Our clients frequently buy sites with really big views and tell us, take care of this view. That's why I bought it, because they're emotionally attached to that. So the Mona Lisa has this big view that's part of the background of then, Da Vinci carried that painting around for decades, working on it, just massaging it. Well, one of the things that he did towards the end was he painted out something up in the upper left and the upper right, and he basically created lighter areas in those two spots. Well, if you squint at the painting and look at it, the three brightest spots on the painting are upper left, upper right, and bottom center. Well, that's the DNA pattern that all humans are born looking for. So, so he eventually landed on what felt right to him. And well, millions of people go see that painting every year, and they stand there and look at it, and they don't know why they're so captivated. Well, they're looking in a mirror, and it's the 3 by 3 is reinforced over and over and over. It's not just one sequence, it's over and over and over throughout the painting. So the more you look, the more you see. And I've had instances with clients when I've shown them floor plans, and they'll say, well, I just don't see it. Can you help me? Then, if I make a change and I'd start to land on the 3 by 3 pattern, and the client goes, oh, great, now I see it. Well, what they're doing is they're saying, I'm recognizing a pattern that I see every day, all day long, looking at people's faces and also looking at my face in the mirror. So it's fascinating to behold. Then when you design an interior space, if you use frequent instances of bilateral symmetry, a fireplace, a kitchen range with cabinets on either side, the front door arrangement, the way you place paintings, if you keep reinforcing it in your interior, then the inhabitants are going to feel comfortable.
Wow. Well, Don, I was going to ask you about this. At the UX Design Conference of 2023, it was stated at the beginning, it said, design is never neutral. It either supports health or hinders it. And you have said that architects and designers have a greater opportunity to affect public health than medical professionals, and that a beautiful space can create the same reaction and health benefits as meditation. So I thought if you would talk a little bit about what you were talking about earlier, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems and how they relate to design.
The fact that the saying is, well, no space is neutral, because you're either going to have an approach a reaction or an avoidance reaction, one way or another. Now you may start out with, well, I'm going to go there. And then you get there and you go, I've decided I'm leaving. I'm not comfortable here. So approach may turn into avoidance eventually. You're going to land on the reaction that is the most emotional. So your modern brain can override your emotions in the short term, but generally the long term is in the emotional reaction that will come to the fore. So that statement that architects and designers have a greater ability to affect public health than medical professionals, that actually didn't come from me. That came from a medical researcher at the University of Texas in San Antonio. And the statement is architects and designers are dealing with health issues, and our circle of influence is larger than the medical profession. And we need to be cognizant of this. And this is new information. I think, this is not something that has been, hanging out there for 100 years. This is fairly new information because we're starting to understand the neuroscience and the biology of how we react to the built environment. So it's about creating balance, homeostasis. So just enough parasympathetic to counteract a sympathetic response. Sympathetic is survival and parasympathetic is pleasure. So it's about having the balance between the two. And it's 80-20. So it's about 80% pleasure and 20% survival in the built environment, which is the right homeostatic balance. So what we do in our firm is use geometries that create pleasure and rest and relaxation, and then insert periodic pieces, sculpture, art, unique pieces of furniture that create curiosity and uniqueness. So the foundation is always fundamentally rest and relaxation, but we're creating moments of curiosity and excitement. And that's important for the human condition, because if it's all beauty, you're bored. So, and if it's all uniqueness and you're overstressed, and it's not good for your health. So the balance, homeostasis, is really important. I mean, it's literally the key component here for designers.
I'd like to discuss, if you would, the initiatives that you have in place to introduce the neuroaesthetics into the curriculum for teaching medical universities.
So myself and Dr. Nan Ellen started an initiative at University of Colorado, Denver, College of Architecture and Planning, called Design Health. And the purpose of the initiative is to draw together medical professionals with design professionals, and at all levels. So urban planning, preservationists, landscape architects, interior designers, architects, with biologists, psychologists, neurologists, physical therapist, music therapist. I mean, it's everybody that's interested, because one side influences the other. And we need to be aware of it. I think a doctor doesn't necessarily just prescribe pills to solve a problem. Maybe he says, well, have you tried changing the colors in your living room and rearranging your furniture? Let me know more about that. So that's what we're doing. It's called Design Health Certificate, and we're teaching it to students. So we're trying to break down the silos that exist between the professions so that the conversation can, from one side, reinforce the other.
Right. It's very interesting. And like you said, it's more 100 years ago or 50 years ago, we weren't talking about this. But now it's like if you didn't have the intuition part that you explained in my DNA, I would not have any of this. I wouldn't have made a living for the past 30 years. So to me, thank you, Don, for validating it. But another thing I wanted to ask, and this is something that you have in your book, you say, beauty is a light in the heart. And I know what that means. What did that mean to you?
Well, it makes you feel well. It lifts you up. It makes you feel well. It's dopamine and oxytocin and a large suite of hormones that make you feel well. And so that feeling well lifts your heart up. It makes you, feel optimistic, feel whole, that your life can be embraced within an overall idea that you have a place in humanity. All of that. I think when we're under stress, it pulls all those feelings out of us. We feel alone, and we don't feel connected, and we don't feel love. We don't feel empathy. But when we feel well, then we project empathy and love and connectedness and supporting our fellow, human being, people around us and beyond. So it's this connectivity that you feel when you have this sense of health and well-being. And it's remarkable when it happens. And that's the light, kind of the spiritual light, that you feel connected and you're on a path that supports not just yourself, but everybody around you.
We spoke about that on the phone a little bit. We touched on spirituality and design. And you talking about it now, I'm just like, yeah, because I try and connect to the light in my heart. I did it on the ride in here because I was stuck in traffic. I was trying to go, don't get stressed. Connect to the light, breathe, you're good. So anyway, you talk about the discussion. I read this in your book, and it really resonated with me, that the discussion happening right now between the architectural and design community about style being either traditional classical style versus contemporary modernism, and it being almost rhetorical, that we're debating the wrong things. And what you really remind us is that the conversation between architects and designers shouldn't be about style first. That debate can actually miss the point. Now we have science to back everything up that helps us understand how the spaces affect our nervous system to either calm us or stimulate us, like your son's rock concert, right? And how that balance impacts our well-being. And when we start there with how a space makes us feel in our bodies, style naturally follows. So instead of letting style lead the conversation, maybe it's time that we let human experience lead and allow design to grow from that place. Sorry, AI. Sorry. But Don, I have to tell you, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you here. And we're so humbled that you would want to share all this great information with us. I mean, we are so grateful for all the hard work you've done, all the books you're writing, the talks you give. We're just like, thank you, Don. Thank you for opening our eyes.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I thought I would end with a quote from your book, and it was by Piero Ferrucci. So it says, "Beauty is free. Why wouldn't we use it?" And I went, there you go.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for all your hard work. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye. I hope that this podcast will help empower you and teach you how to pursue your vision for your home by becoming aware of how design elements make you feel. We have many creative and inspiring guests joining us in future podcasts, sharing their knowledge and experiences with holistic design. And we're very excited about hearing from all of you and learning about your reactions to different design components. We welcome your comments and likes, and of course, would greatly appreciate you subscribing to our channel. Till next time, remember to start listening to yourself, because it's about you. It's your home. It's your space.